Hi, everyone. Welcome to the summit. My name is Lori Gambacorta, and I have the absolute honor and pleasure to be in conversation today with none other than Janet Atwood. Janet is a transformational leader, passionate speaker, and expert in personal growth and fulfillment. Known for her unique ability to guide individuals in aligning with their passions and creating lives of purpose, Janet's inspired millions to take charge of their destinies. As co-author of the best-selling book, The Passion Test, she offers practical tools and insights to help others live with clarity and intention. Welcome, Janet, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today to help set people up for the best year of their life.
I'm all over this, Lori, and I'm so happy to meet you. You're so wonderfully grounded, and so I can just feel your energy. You're just lovely. So wonderful to be here.
Thank you. So I want to start with getting your definition of what a true passion is, because I think a lot of times, we might be paying attention to our personal preferences and our desires that might be driven more by circumstance or more by sort of societal norms of what we're being told to pay attention to. So how does a passion differ from a simple, like or dislike?
Yeah, that's such a good question. In the Passion Test, in the New York Times bestseller, The Passion Test, there is this beautiful quote. I love this quote. What you love and God's will for you. God, nature, higher power, the universe, the unified field, whatever name you want to put to that energy that's greater than yourself. And this is not the way that most people will answer this. What I feel your passion is, it's about aligning with God, nature, higher power's will for you. What you love and God's will for you is one and the same. And when you align with that, that's when I always like to call it nature supports. That's the do less, accomplish more path. That's when the people, the places, and the things start to show up, because science talks about a unified field. All of us are part and parcel of this unified field. It's like each of us have a part in this gigantic field to play. We're like in that puzzle. And our job is to get so quiet, to get so crystal clear so that we can go within. One of the things that we say is that your passions are created from within. They're not created from outside of yourself. They're within you. And there's this beautiful saying in the Bhagavad Gita, some of the most ancient literature known to man. And what the Gita says is this beautiful quote, curving back on myself, I create again and again and again. Your passions aren't personal. We all think, oh, if I live my passion, I've heard this so many times, mostly from women, I'm being so selfish. But it's not about being selfish. It's about you being you being you, and really dropping in and asking yourself, what do I love? What lights my fire? What gets me out of bed in the morning? What would I do without looking at a clock all day long? What would I love to be doing that I'm so in? I'm so 100% in that even if I didn't get paid for it, I would still love to do that thing. And so many people these days think, oh my God, if I make a money-based decision, then I'll get a lot of money. A lot of people do that. I mean, a lot of people here have probably done that. You've taken one seminar after the other, how to make money, and how to make money. And you find that you keep taking seminars because when you're not passionate about that thing, and the minute an obstacle comes up, the second a challenge comes up, if you're not passionate about that thing, if you don't care, if you don't deeply love that thing, notice this is just about being what I call a conscious creator, and noticing how you start making excuses for not doing that thing, for not, doing what I call the icky stuff. You might have your passion. Writing a New York Times bestselling book was not my passion. My passion was I wanted to spread the knowledge of this beautiful process throughout the world. I want to help people live a passionate life. Because when I'm so selfish, when I'm around people that are passionate, life is more fun, it's more exciting, we're more aligned. Everything just feels better. And that was my passion. Writing that book was the icky part. I remember there were times I was sitting in my little bedroom, I was throwing the pencil at the wall. I'm like, God, I want to go outside. It's summer. It's a beautiful day. But then I stuck with it, and I stuck with it. Thank you. Thank you. I stuck with it because I had such a love for humanity, for the desire to see people be able to lift themselves out of wherever it was that they were stuck, and realize that the importance of living their passion doesn't have, it's not just about you and your happiness, but it's got a domino effect to the rest of the world.
Mm. I was just talking with a friend earlier today, saying that I think as we mature spiritually, we start to understand that our gifts don't belong only to us. And I'm hearing that in the background of what you're saying as well.
No,
It's like,
totally.
yeah. And so I'm sure for a lot of people tuning in, who do want to set themselves up for the best year of their life, I think that many of them are feeling that stuckness that you're talking about. So what's your advice? What's the first step that you would tell people who feel disconnected? Like, I don't know what my passion is. I'm feeling disconnected. I'm not feeling that alignment. I'm not feeling that flow. What's their
Yeah.
first step?
Well, first, I would tell you to do what I would do for me, which I did. The passion test system was my little download. I like to say it was a download, because the acronym for system, save yourself time, energy, and money. And a system is very left brain. I'm very right brain created. And I feel like one day I was just walking along. I was struggling. I was in a job I hated. I seriously was failing miserably. I was minus money. I mean, life was not fun. I had such low self-esteem. By the way, sidebar, if you want to have low self-esteem, go get a job for money that you have no skills, no desires, no passions for. That's the road to low
Oh,
self-esteem,
gosh.
right? Get it?
Yeah. I'm going to interject. I have many friends who I would call multi-passionate entrepreneurs who fall into that trap of, but it's not paying the bills. And so I'm going to go get this job and this job and this job. And then it's like, well, you're just, now you're creating these further obstacles to actually doing what lights you up and sets you on fire.
I like to call it's like putting pain on pain. Okay, I don't know what my passion is. So, okay, I'm going to look into the classified section. Boom. Okay, lots of money. All right, I'm going to go to that, even though I don't have anything to do with that, but lots of money, lots of money. That's what I call it, that money-based decision. And, what my friend Mark Victor Hansen of Chicken Soup calls it, calls it JOB, you're just over broke. And that's what happens with so many people. Anyway.
Yeah. But it's a real thing.
It's a very real thing. It's what people are doing right now more than ever. What do they say? 4 out of 5 working Americans wake up every morning.
Yeah.
Not happy, not fulfilled, not passionate about their life. And you look at the world right now. Look at the world. Now, the United States is probably more conscious than most places or many places. And I hope. And yet, look at our world right now. I mean, it's not like everybody's going, oh, God, this is so yay. And really it is our birthright. Our birthright is to be in alignment with the things that we care about the most. Otherwise, we have a pretty weird, mean God, or higher power or nature, whatever that name is, again, that you want to put to that energy that's greater than yourself. So what I would tell someone that felt really lost and, didn't have a clue, well, first, of course, I would say, take the passion test. It's the number one tool being used all over the world. This funny little test that I created to get myself out of my own hell. I was actually in, you've or are interviewing your Deborah Poneman. years and years and years ago, like a long time ago, over 25 years ago, I was sitting in her seminar and Deborah was, talking about a survey that had been given to the 100 most successful people in the United States. And she said, what this survey found is that every single one of them were living what they considered their top passions. And she went on to talk about dress for success. I sat there, I was frozen because I had lied and said I'm sick, I can't come today because I'd heard about her seminar because I hated the job I was in. That was my minus money job. And so when she said that, I sat there and she's talking about what to wear, to look successful. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, if I could figure out what my top 5 passions are, I'd be just like those other, uber successful people. And that was actually the birth of the passion test. That was the download of this passion test. And what I would say to all of you, so what I did was the very first exercise. And what the passion test is, it's one exercise after the other, after the other, after the other, that helps people get so crystal clear that when you close your eyes, remember I said it's an inside out job. When you close your eyes, you can actually see the world you choose to create. And that's super important because why? Because how you manifest is by creating your Monet from within. That means you have so much clarity. When you're clear, the big quote that I say off 100 times a day to myself too, when you're clear, what you choose to have show up in your life will, and only to the extent that you're clear, that clarity is power. And the passion test gives you that clarity. So what you can do right now, just get out a piece of paper or write on your desktop and just write out the words that I started with. I started with to get myself out of that awful place of just feeling like I'm zero. I'm like, I'll never be okay in my life. And I mean, I was so sad at that time. And I wrote down, when my life is ideal, I am. I always write as if it already happened. When my life is ideal, I am. And then I want you to think about, and you want to write these down, think about all the areas of your life that are important. That's what we have people do in the passion test. Health, career, fun. I'm the fun girl. If I don't have fun, I don't even want to be there. I'm having fun with you, Lori, so I'll stay. No, fun, spirituality, education, relationships, all of these areas that are really super service, that are really important to us. Your environment, where do you live? My house, I walk in it. Is it in the mountains? Is it at the ocean? So you want to, it's so important that you really go in and tap into what is it that you care about. But think about these areas, all the different areas of your life. And you don't want to write just one word, like when my life is ideal, I'm happy. No, notice that doesn't do anything for you. What you have to, what are you happy? What would you be happy doing? It's more of what would you, if all the doors were open, if everyone said yes to you, and there were no obstacles at all to this road of being able to put your attention on what you choose to create, what would you love to do? And that's what I tell people do. Make a list of 10 and write out, when my life is ideal, I'll give you my passions because I know them so well. Present in the moment and loving what is. Mm. Present in the moment. When I'm with people, I want to be with people. And when I'm with people, I want to love being with them. And so that's a really big passion of mine. And notice there's 2 feeling words, present, and when my life is ideal, I'm present in the moment, loving. So I want you to all put feeling words, these feeling words, loving, passionate, creative, outrageous, wonderful, joyous. It's those feeling words that really talk to the soul and really say it. But you want to have clarity, short, precise, to the point, in the positive. there's actually, I call it Janet's system to writing your passion so that they meet with success. Now, here's the other thing. Don't write when my life, Jack Canfield, I took Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup through the passion test. And he wrote, when my life is ideal, I'm a millionaire. And I'd given him the instruction. And I said, Jack, I know is making money fun, like, is it making money that you love, or is it what that money would buy? This is really important that you go within and ask yourself, why do I want that?
Mm-hmm.
What will it bring to me? And Jack got really quiet because he was having fun and laughing. And I said, Jack, excuse me, you know, come on. Is it making that money and having just gobs of money all over the place? Or is it what that money will bring for you? And he got really sober, Lori. He got he really did. Jack's so wonderful. I just love him so much. And he went, well, if I had, a lot of money, then I would have time freedom. And so I had him, using feeling words, write his passion, and if I had more. And so he thought about that. If I had my $1,000,000, what would I buy? That's your passion. Got it? That's your passion.
Right.
Also, if you feel like, okay, Janet, it worked for you, it works for Jack, but you look at you guys, but if you feel like you can hardly dig yourself out of wherever you're in this big hole right now and you're so stuck, the last thing you can think of is what you're passionate about. One time, Lori, I was speaking I got this email from this organization called Butterflies of Hope in Florida and in Miami. And they said, Dearest Janet, we're putting on this really great event with 200 homeless women in Miami. We're going to bus them into a 5-star hotel. We're going to feed them on China. We're going to give them all these wonderful gifts that we had people donate. And we'd like to have you come and give the passion test. We want a transformational leader. And by the way, we can't pay you. But, I thought, oh, why? I got to go do that. I'd never spoken to homeless people yet. And so I went, and so I give the passion test to all of these homeless women. And I said, okay, write, I gave instructions, write your passions. And this one woman, and I said, yes. And she goes, I don't know what I'm passionate about. I have not a clue what I'm passionate about. I'm like,
That was going to be my next question, Janet, is like, people are so.
oh my God, yeah, they're dark. They're in a dark, they're in a hard time. People are having a hard
Yeah.
time. So here's the answer. And it is the answer.
And we are taught though to sort of, we're not taught to think deeply like that. We're taught to sort of stay at the surface level.
Yeah,
And so people they're not familiar with that. They're not familiar with that kind of deep inquiry, and I do
exactly.
something similar in health coaching, because of course everybody, it's like, well, what's your goal? What do you want? Well, I want to be healthy. Well, okay, wait, let's dive a little deeper. What does that mean? What does health mean to you? And like you're saying, like, what will it give me? How is
Well,
my life actually gonna look different? And because when you stay on the surface, it's really hard to get to your motivations or inspiration. So so take it from there. What's the further piece of advice then for people who aren't used to answering those kinds of questions for themselves?
exactly. Well, it's really great that it's a simple answer and it's easy to do. And it's just what I told this one homeless woman who had been homeless for 10 years plus, right? And I stood there for a minute and no one had ever asked me that. It was right in the beginning of me running around giving the passion test. And I said, think of what you never want to have happen again. If you don't know what you're passionate about, what do you never want to have happen in your life again? I said, is there anything? And she said, oh God, it always makes me want to cry. She said, I never want to be homeless again. And I said, okay, so what would be the opposite of that? I can never tell this story without crying because it was so real. It's so real. She said, I have a beautiful home. And I said, honey, that's it. What you put your attention on grows stronger in your life. And if you keep your attention on those things that matter most to you, you're powerful. You are powerful. It's just, where do you put your attention? I'll never have a nice home. I'll always be homeless. How many times have you told yourself that? How many times have you had that thought? And look how powerful you are. Look at your life. It's, if you don't like the movie that's going on, change the reel. Change the reel. And how you change the reel is you switch it and you realize that what you put your attention on, you're a co-creator in this universe. And we all have to get that. This is like passion 101. It is really passion 101 that all of us, Lori, and I tell everybody this, you're powerful. We're all powerful. It's just, where do you put that power? Do you wake up in the morning? Do you go to your TV or your radio? Do you put on the news? And you just like, okay, tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And then you go to work, drive to work, and you put on your radio, tragedy after that. You get to work, you get in your coffee. God, wasn't it awful today? What's happening? You hear about New York and da 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 da. But where are you taking? This is powerful real estate up here, and how are we just like throwing it away? And this is how we throw it away. It's a choice. Every moment is a choice. And so our job is to know that I'm here as a co-creator. What is my contribution? What is my contribution to have this beautiful opportunity to be able to be on this planet, to breathe, to walk outside?
I want to be super clear that, we're not talking about blaming the victim here. That these
No,
are
not at
these are
all.
these are things that, are conditioned and become habits. And so I agree with you 100%. Everything is a choice. We have a choice in every single moment. And at the same time, we have to have an expanded awareness to even understand there is a choice. So what can you say about that? Like, how do people what's an exercise, an affirmation, something that you would
Beautiful.
recommend
Thank
that
you. I love
actually
that.
expands their awareness to recognize I do have a choice and I am powerful?
Well, if I had created this little process with that homeless woman, or with all those homeless women, I would have said, what are the things that you say? I want you to write down, and all of you can do this right now. What are 3 things that you say to yourself that are your inner critic? What does your inner critic say? When you pass by a mirror, is it, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm not beautiful enough? When you're, having a conversation with people you really respect, is it, I'm not smart enough, I'm not educated enough? When you're with people that are super successful, what do you say to yourself? I'll never be successful, I'll never be enough. And write down, just take a minute and write down, what are 3 things that you say to yourself, that your inner critic says, that you say on a regular basis. Because remember, we do that. You're right, Lori. It's kind of like we go on automatic. Nobody took self-love 101. And I didn't take it when I was in elementary school. Did you?
No, they didn't have that.
Nobody told me that I am, my nature is love and light. I am here to give, right? This is my job. I'm here to spread that love and light. And nobody said, and so just think of yourself as the best person you would love to be. So I want all of you to write those 3 inner critic things down and then circle the most dominant one. Just circle it. And then, so, oftentimes in my programs, because I have a program called Mastery of Self Love, that people, and I intertwine self love into my passion test programs now because you have to have it. Because you can't, if you don't choose and favor your passions, it's because you don't love yourself enough. You love others more than you. And then you end up how you end up, right? Not happy, not fulfilled, and not passionate about your life, and feeling sad and like, how did you lose it on the way? So oftentimes people will write things like, I'm not enough. And I'll say, okay, that's your inner critic. Now I want you to think of a stop word. And a stop word, actually, in this stop word exercise came from being in Deborah's seminar. Deborah would walk around, she'd go, cancel. She'd just be doing this little weird thing, cancel. I went up to her, I said, what the heck is this cancel thing? And she said, well, every time I hear myself thinking negative, I cancel it and I replace it because I don't want to give any power to that negative. And I called that your stop word. So, some of my students are hell no, or out of here, or delete, or cancel. Mine's been cancel. I just borrowed Deborah's. She doesn't own it. And you want to cancel the minute you're aware. The minute you're aware, and you have to tell yourself, you have to, we oftentimes forget to tell ourselves, give our own direction. We go to our friends, we go to everybody else, we go outside of ourselves. But really talk to yourself and say, self, every time I am thinking a negative, I want you to remind me so I can cancel, so I don't give any power to that negative. And then you want to replace it with what I call, Lori, your self-love mantra. And so if you wrote, I'm not good enough, then the opposite, one of the opposites could be, I'm perfect just as I am. I'm perfect just as I am. In my program, now think about it. Let me ask you, what do you think would happen if every time if you're always saying I'm not good enough, what do you think you create for yourself in your own life? You've been in this field for a long time. What do you think you create?
Right. You're putting out a low dense frequency and you're going to create events that and circumstances that match that. And so the opposite would be if I'm self-loving, and then I'm going to create circumstances that reflect that.
That's it. And I tell people, don't take my word for it. It's such a simple exercise. Do it for 30 days. They say it changes in 30 days, right? And so if you do it for 30 days, what you're going to notice is that you're waking up happy for no reason. Why? Because your world is as you are. And if you're always saying I'm not enough, you're right. That's it. You will attract, just like you said, Lori, the people, places, and things to prove that you are right, because that's how powerful you are. That's why undoing these, what I call your limiting beliefs. And I said it before, our nature is love and light. But no one taught us that. No one taught us that we are co-creators of the universe. No one said this to us. No one said your thoughts, it said, this is so powerful up here. Just put your attention on what you choose to create. No one told us that. So we have to undo all of these things that we've been doing so that we can actually live the world that we were meant to live, because we are meant to live a happy life. That's it. So that's a great exercise. The inner critic. If I could muscle test people, I had Master Stephen Coe. He's a world-renowned pranic healing master. He teaches now with Tony Robbins. And when I was interviewing him on a similar format, only I was the interviewer, I said, what's one thing you'd never do again? What's one thing? It was my passion series. And he said, I would never, if I had known the power of my thoughts, I would never think a negative thought again. Never. Huh? Yes. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I'd like to, if you could expand a little more on self-love, the role of self-love, how people can integrate more self-love in a time when people are feeling overwhelmed, busy. How can people integrate more self-love and more passion into their daily lives?
Well, number one, in every program I teach, and I was telling you earlier that before we got on that I teach a lot in China and Asia. And everywhere I teach, no matter where I go, I talk about meditation. Because I've been doing transcendental meditation over 50 years now. It's my self-love time. It is my time. And for many people, they don't understand the real value of meditation. What is really meditation? It's not about Om Shanti Shanti, these 30 minutes are so yummy. No. When you transcending means to go within, to go in within the thinking process, right? And to go beyond the thinking process to this field called the unified field, this home of pure knowledge. We all have this pure knowledge within us. Now, here's the interesting thing. When you meditate, when you do transcendental meditation, that's all I'll talk about. I'm sure there are other great practices out there. I just talk about TM because that's what I know. When you transcend or go beyond your thinking process and go within, what science has found from Harvard, Stanford, Yale, that one gains a deeper state of rest in meditation and a different quality of rest than the state of rest gained in 8 hours of deep sleep. And this quality of rest is very important because all of us, life happens to. And we start to attach stress onto our nervous system from life happening. Maybe we got a divorce. Maybe we lost a child. Maybe we were sexually abused. Maybe we, lost all of our money. This, that, or the other thing. These things are big life, real things that happen to us. And we don't always respond in a way where it doesn't attach to us. Most of us, you can see stress on people. You can look at their face and you can actually see, the years they've worn and how the years have treated them. What happens when one transcends and gains this deep state of rest is that naturally, and this is all research verified, these stresses get released, these deep-rooted stresses. And you heard me say the quote, "The world is as you are." Well, when you have a lot of stress, you see the world through a very narrow lens. It's like seeing the world through a narrow lens of a camera. You really see the world that way. So you can't tell someone, that doesn't have a lot of awareness, "God, what's wrong with you?" That's the best they can do. That's their best because that's all they know. The more you meditate, the more you undo stress. What happens is you expand your ability to perceive, to be more conscious. You have more awareness. Therefore, you have more choice. You have more possibility. All of that creates a happier you. Science has verified when a person transcends, what they experience is their heart rate slows down, their skin resistance increases. All of these physiological, wonderful effects start to happen. Oxytocin, becomes more, and people become happier within themselves. And that is our nature. Our nature is not this stressful nervous system. That is something that is not a part of us, nor are our limiting beliefs, as a matter of fact. They live outside of us. But we've been telling ourselves these things for so long and, making up for feeling like we're not enough for so long that we start to believe that's who we are. And it's not. All of us are here to give our gifts. I mean, Mother Teresa did a great job, wouldn't you say? Right?
Yes,
And
I would.
Gandhi did a really good job, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
And Lori's done a really good job too. I can see that.
Well,
And
thank you.
and for all of us, no one can do you better than you. We're all unique. We all have gifts to give. And our job, and what I said in the very beginning, and it's not personal, that who we are speaks so loudly, and we have a domino effect. Mom I just given the passion test to this mother, and she has two children, and she said, "Oh, but God, I remember I told you, most women go, I'm so selfish. What about my kids?" And I say, well, let me ask you something. You know, when you're not doing things for you and living some of your passion as well as your children are your passion, but other passions too. She wanted to have a boutique. I said, "Do you ever find that you're um, kind of irritated, and you don't give your kids as much quality time as you'd like to, and you're not as happy, and that flows over onto them?" And she goes, I do. And I said, well, what would it be like if you could you have to do what you have to do. You have to carve out a little time, a little me time. That's self-love. Self-love. I love you, I love me, I love me, I love you. There's got to be a sharing in that, because 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 who you are, how much love you give to you, and this is the big one, Lori, for me. How kind you are to you is how kind and loving you're going to be to everyone else. And that's why when you get on the plane, you put on your mask first. You've got to put on your mask
Right.
first. So some of the things that I tell people to do, inner critic exercise for self-love. That's self-love, not entertaining something that's not true. Your inner critic is not who you are. You've attached it from the outside. Maybe a teacher said, "You're not good enough. Who do you think you are?" I had that happen. You. And then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh God, I'm not enough. God, I'll always be a failure." I had that stuff. I had to undo. I never give people things I wouldn't use, ever. The other thing that can help people, in my passion test programs, every single program has a section on undoing limiting beliefs using the work of Byron Katie, this incredible process to undo beliefs that attach themselves to us. The more we undo those beliefs, the happier we become, the happier we are, the happier we are to others. I mean, we're connected. We're all connected. We're not separate. Separation is an illusion. And we bought into, I am separate. And Lori, my goal and my passion, one of my passions, I'm a golden retriever. I love everyone. And I mean it. I know people are going to go, "Ooh, you love everyone. Ooh, how can you love everyone?" But honestly, I really want to come from that place of I just love. And I am fierce about that. Wherever I go, I meet no one but me. When you love you, you can't help. You can't help but love them. Now, you might not respect them. There are two different things, by the way, but you
Or
can,
agree with them.
right? Yeah, but you can find something you love. So, work of Byron Katie, really a good process, the work. The other thing is following your passion, of course, because if you don't choose in favor of the things that have more of meaning and purpose in your life, then you're not being very loving to you. Most people, most people are choosing in favor of what my husband wants for me, my children want for me, my parents want for me, my teachers want for me, and our job is to get so quiet that we can really get clear on what what I, Janet, what I, Lori, what I, all of you out there want for you. And my other quote that I love, I want for you what you want for you. Because when you really drop in, it's not going to be, at first you could write down, "When my life is ideal, I have a red Corvette." Ha ha ha. No, the more you take the passion test, the more you start to hone in. I tell people, take this process, 3, 4 times before you even start to put your attention on your passions. And so we do this elimination process of taking people through 10, have them come up with their top 5 so that life isn't overloaded. And then we actually score your passions. Where are you? And you're a coach. You said you used to do coaching, or you do. And I know lots of coaches are probably listening. Wow, if you don't know what someone's scores are on their list of passions, how do you know how to coach them? You can see immediately 10, 9, 3, 1, 2. Oh, Oh, the low scores, that's where they need my support. It's such a brilliant system. It's a download. I didn't think of it. I always like to say I was walking along and the universe said, we got to give her something, plop, and this beautiful.
Well, that's the perfect example, right? Of our gifts don't belong only to us, right?
Isn't that it?
We're
Isn't
just
that it?
bringing them in. My
Yeah.
gosh, so much richness here. So much for people to ponder. I hope they go back and listen to this over and over and over again. I'm totally tracking with you. I have a spiritual mentor who says all personal growth, all spiritual uh, fulfillment comes from letting things go. It's not about adding anything to us. It is about letting go of the untruths that we believe about ourselves, about the limitations that you're talking about. So I would love for you, for the next minute or two, to give some examples of people who have taken the passion test and how it's transformed their lives and what we can learn from their experiences.
Well, I have this really famous guy. I really love him. His name is Charles Poliquin, and he sent an email to me. It was so cool. He sent it this email. He was on a plane, and it said something like, "Before I read your book, The Passion Test," he said, I was already in sporting excellence. I had trained, what did he say, Olympic medalists in 17 different world sports and world record holders in 10 sports. I mean, he was a big guy. But then he said this really interesting thing. He says, used to work 20 hours a day and trained 1 hour. Driven? Yes. Smart? Hell no. And he said, Janet, the difference now is that since I have taken the passion test, I have not worked anymore. I live my passions. I don't work. I thought that was so cool. I have not worked anymore. I live my passions, the things that I love. And I can't wait to get up in the morning. And then he topped it with saying that he trained something like 7,000 coaches in 68 countries, and winning Olympic gold medals by improving, their strength and conditioning. And he says, I never feel like I work. And I thought that was so, so good because so many people always say, oh, I can't, I don't have time, right? And Charles, he was like sucked into that until taking the passion test, which I thought was a really great testimonial to the system. The acronym for system, again, save yourself time, energy, and money. And a system is called a system because if you follow it, it has to work. So let me think, who else? Well, there's this guy. I love this guy. And a lot of people, Lori, and I'm sure you've run into them, think they're either too old or too sick to follow their passions. And I have people like that in every program. And for these people, I love to tell Otto's story. And Otto had written to me and he said, I'm 75 years old. I have type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease. And I'm reading this, I'm like, whoa, and then he went on to say, in the past, I taught English in a medical school in China for 1.5 years, and he said he loved it. He just loved it. And he said in his letter, he said, I had a dream of going back to China to teach again. And then he said, but before discovering the passion test, he spent a year and a half applying to teach oral English in China. And he said he had no success. And he said he had, I think he'd gotten about 20 refusals from schools in China. And then, yay, he said, when I took the passion test and listed as one of my top 5 passions, when my life is ideal, I have a job in China, what did he say, in a desirable location. What happened was so cool because he said within a week he received an email from a school in Guilin, China, and they said if he's still interested in a job, just to call this number. And I think it was the girl's name was Kimberly. And and he said, you know, I'm now in my heaven on earth. And he said, you know, when I look back on what happened, he said he realized that he had been holding himself onto this belief that he was too old and too ill to be able to follow his passions, and that the passion test somehow, what it did, it added the clarity and energy that he needed to, you know, transcend these beliefs so that he could create this passion in his life. And, you know, he said, now I'm living out my life, wishing, you know, I'm not thinking, oh gosh, you know, I hope that could have been, but now I'm immersed in living the life of my dreams. And I love that. You know, I just love Otto's story. So there's two, you know, that I can share.
Yeah,
I have more.
I love the stories too, you know, because it's evidence that, you know, what you're saying is it works. Like you said, it's a system. It's got to work if you work it.
That's it. That's it. That's all it
and
is, you know?
and so, you know, so part of I think that we've been taught, you know, like you said, I don't remember self-love being in the curriculum in grade school. And so I think we've been taught somewhere along the way that like passion and practicality don't belong in the same sentence. And you know, and so, but again, they're real. I mean, they're real in the sense that they're beliefs that are sort of standing in the way of people, like you said, like in Otto's case, I'm too old or I'm too sick. So what would you say? So, I mean, you've given us so many tools already, including working with the self critic. But what would you say is like the number one thing as far as transcending that gap between passion and practicality for people who think, well, I
Yeah.
can't. It's not really a practical thing. You know, I have financial limitations. I've got family obligations. I have, you know, all of these other circumstances in my life. So, what do you say to that?
I'd say go step by step. I mean, you don't have to quit your job. You don't have to sell your house. You don't have to divorce your husband and start living your passions. You know, just begin making choices that bring you closer to your top five passions. Now, see, you have to take the passion test to come up with your top five. But what you'll discover little by little is that your life will begin to change. And the key thing is keep remembering to choose in favor of the things you love and care about most in your life. And you could also remember this book. There's this great book called Success Built to Last. And in the book Success Built to Last, what the authors did was they interviewed over 200 really successful people like Maya Angelou, the great poet, Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter, Michael Dell from Dell Computer, all these big greats. These are people that had known longstanding success, not just success for 10 years, but 20, 30, 40 years, longstanding success. And what they realized after these interviews, over 200 interviews with these uber successful people, is that the one thing they had in common, was that they all consistently chose in favor of the things that mattered most to them. They all consistently chose in favor of the things that mattered most to them. And I can't emphasize that enough. And so you take baby steps. To the woman who has the two kids that felt like she was being selfish because, you know, they needed her, but she wanted her boutique. I said, okay, carve out a little time. You're going to have to find it. But, you know, if you have to get up a half an hour earlier, you know, you don't like throw your kids away and to have your boutique, but you start putting your attention on that, on those things that you care about and the other things that you care about. You don't just like jump off a mountain and, you know, I'm going to go live my passion. That's what some people do, but that could be so scary. You'd freak yourself out and never do anything. But what I told her, I said, you know, where do you want that boutique to be? Start designing it. You know, where are you going to get the clothes? what you put your attention on grows stronger in your life. So start to put your, carve out that time and start putting your attention on those things. And what I've seen in the passion test, we have the formula for living a passionate life: intention, attention, no tension. Intention, that's about getting so clear. Take the passion test. It's the number one tool being used. It's just a great system to get clarity of doing all these exercises. I only named a few of them. There are many exercises that give you clarity upon clarity upon clarity. Then, once you're clear about what it is that you're passionate about, then attention. Remember, I said you're powerful. All of you are powerful. But where are you putting your powerful attention? Be like a samurai and keep your attention on your passions. What you put your attention on grows stronger in your life. It's just the way life works. That's it. You only have so much real estate up here. Don't use it all thinking about lesser things. We do that out of fear. We do that because we feel like, oh, that's for someone else. But no, it's not. You be you. No one can do you as well as you. So intention, attention, putting your powerful attention on what you choose to create, and then taking action, striking like lightning, walking through the doors that open. Don't complain about the ones that don't. Nature has perfect timing. Every moment matters. Every moment matters. Notice that. Your journey up until right now, everything that you've learned right now, everything you've experienced right now is setting you up for the next thing. That we can't have a breath without the last breath, or what happens? We wouldn't be here listening to my talk. So intention, attention. Once you've done all you know to do, taken action in all the ways you know, then the last step of the formula is no tension. You said that earlier, Lori. That's when you surrender, you let go. You say, okay, I've done all I can do. This or something better. And you say this or something better, knowing that maybe still you hadn't allowed yourself to be as big as you are to be. So still leaving room for the universe to course correct you. Intention, attention, no tension. So the secret to living a passionate life, it's just simply whenever you're faced with a choice, a decision, or an opportunity, choose in favor of your passion. Now really think about this. It sounds very simple, but really think about, is it simple? Because as I was saying earlier, all of us love, we have people in our life that we care about, we love, we want them to love us. And, here we have our passion, we're set up to go do it. And someone we love says, oh, but could you please do this for me? Or could you please do this with me? And then all of a sudden, I want them to love me. What if I say yes to me? But here's what I always tell people. When you do what you love, when you really, really choose in favor of the things that have greatest meaning and purpose for you in that moment, everybody will win. When you say yes and you mean no, notice how you are and notice who you bring to the table. And usually it's called resentment. And so this secret to living a passionate life, whenever you're faced with a choice, a decision, or an opportunity, choose in favor of your passion. That's a practice. That is a practice. We're in my new book coming out. It's called Earth School. This is Earth School. And there are no mistakes. We just keep course correcting. No mistakes. There can't be a mistake. There are no mistakes. The only mistake was someone had a word called mistake. But even, let me ask you, Lori, have you noticed that if you make a mistake, next time you might do it a little bit better, maybe even a little bit better?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Or the next time, or the next time, or the next time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where's the mistake? It's just Earth School. So
right. And I believe we are self-healing, self-correcting beings. I believe that with all my heart. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. And that's why, this self-love is so important. Being kind to you, knowing that in this moment, You are doing your very best in this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. And so is everybody else. And when you start to realize that, your compassion will really explode. Huh? Yeah, no mistake.
We're coming to the end of our time together, darn it. I'm curious about one thing though, because a couple of times throughout, you said, I gave the passion test. I gave the passion test. I'm curious, is it helpful for some people to have somebody else around with them to support them, to ask them the questions, to reflect, give feedback, or a single person, a friend, or even a group of people? Was there value to that?
Oh, I just love that you asked me that question because I have 5,000 facilitators all over the world. The reason why I have 5,000 facilitators all over the world is because when I first started giving this out into the world, it just took off because it's Jack Canfield's one of my students. He's a passion test facilitator. It numbers 6th chapter. Follow your passion, use the passion test. He gives the passion test in all his programs. It's it's much better. I mean, you can do it by yourself, you can get the book, but every time when you're faced with someone else, and there's all this research that says, we're much more responsive because we've got that other person there and they're tracking us in lots of ways, right? They're seeing our face, they're seeing our feet, they're getting our vibe. And I would absolutely say to people, come to my passion test certification program. And I'm saying that because it's not for you to become a teacher so much as it is to become a master of living your passion. If you want to be a master of anything, you have to teach it. You have to, because then you start to know what you don't know. You start to know what you do know. And that's why I created my certification program. It was to help me by having me being multiplied, but it was also to help others become and have mastery in living a passionate life. And so I would say come and be with me. I love training other people, and I love taking them through the passion test because I've gotten so good at it. When I could just oh no, really, I can tell in a second, in a heartbeat, that you're a little off. But on the other hand, it's the only test you'll never fail. So I'm going to answer that in 2 ways. You get the book, you take it. Remember, I said take it 2, 3, 4 times at least, because you'll know when, okay, they aren't moving, they aren't shifting, they aren't changing. And once you know that, then you're solid. Then start putting your attention on those things. You don't want to start putting your attention on your passions if you're not sure of whether or not they'll come true. I did that once. Don't do that. I did that with a man. I did. And I know I want him. I want him. I want him, and then I got him and I went, no, I didn't want him. No, yeah. I didn't go deep enough. Right. I didn't go deep enough. The great thing about mentors, and you know this because you're a mentor to many, many, I'm sure thousands and thousands of people, is that you've been there, done that. You've walked through the minefields. You didn't blow up. You've somehow lasted through the whole thing. And now you can help other people, traverse through the minefields so they don't blow up. And so it's a do less, accomplish more path. Mm-hmm. So I always say, of course, come be with me. Go to find a facilitator of the passion test. You can Google it, or get the book. But I would always go for doing it with someone, because they can help you be more accountable and they can steer you. And that's a great thing.
As we finish up here, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience to help them live the best year of their life in 2025?
I have this song that I love that one of my facilitators wrote. And I love the words. He said, everybody's got a song inside them. Everybody's got a gift that comes out of the silence. But something happened, you decided to hide it. But now it's time to reclaim your power. When you were young, you saw light through the eyes of love. then life got rough and you gave it up. But if you're like me and you've had enough, it's time to reclaim your power.
Wow, I have
That's so
chills. I have chills, Janet. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And I know that the audience has just gotten so much out of this. So grateful for your presence. How can people get in touch with you and learn more about the Passion Test and the work that you do in your upcoming books?
Yeah, that would be great. It's www.thepassiontest.com. It's very simple. You can also go and take the quiz and find out where are you right now in living a passionate life. Huh? That's a good thing to know. Right. But I just want to say thank you, Lori. Thank you for your work and your, you can tell, I can tell I've done so many interviews. You're so conscious and you've done so much inner work. And it's been an honor for me to be here with you. I've really, really enjoyed my time.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone.